Hi everyone, welcome to the nighttime level of the Cusuco National Park game. If you've watched the daytime video already, then you'll kind of know the basics. This video is just to kind of show you the difference of the gameplay. So we've got exactly the same um, map and surroundings as we had before, but obviously this is intended to kind of work with the species that are going to be out at night, so we're going to have higher detectability of nocturnal species, but it's going to be harder for us to see species that are kind of outside of our torch beam, which is what the real situation would be like when doing a survey at night. So we're going to go straight into the water area, because normally in Cusuco, when we were doing night surveys, whilst we will do terrestrial transect surveys at night as well, there is quite a lot of time devoted to doing surveys along streams, because that's where we're going to find a lot of our amphibians, and also the species that will often hunt amphibians, such as the emerald palm viper, Bothricus marchi. So if I head over here, we're going to start seeing our first amphibians, our first frogs that we can pick up and have a look at. So we've got this big guy here, which I suspect might be a cane toad, which actually is one of the species that you're less likely to find in Cusuco, but I'll talk that through in a moment why we've included that. And if we just walk along the stream here, hopefully we'll find some more frogs. If you've played the daytime version of this game, you will notice that if you walk along this same stream, you might find some amphibians out and about, but the detectability is going to be much lower than it is at night. So that's really nice that we kind of recreate that that difference. So we've got a little frog here on this rock. Pick him up. We've got quite a few more over here. So we'll pick all these up and see what we've got. Right, okay, so we've got a few species that we found now. There's another one over here. That guy up. So as I was saying in the previous video, as I've said already in this video, the detection rates are going to be above what you would normally expect to find within a real life scenario, but it does allow us to make sure that we encounter species quite quickly, so we can build those data sets and keep that kind of enjoyment within gameplay. So they're all relative, so the detectability of each species, how many of them there are available to find within the game, is based on our own data of how likely you are to encounter them in the park, but definitely very, very high rates. I've been on stream surveys within the park where you are on certain nights finding really kind of frogs really frequently, so you do have patches where you find a lot out and about. I'm struggling to pick this one up, try and get right over the top of it. There we go, got it. Snap up here. And I've said previously in the last video, none of the animals within the game are able to move, so they're not going to kind of be hopping away and escaping, which they would be doing in a real survey scenario. Right, so now we've caught a few, let's open our inventory. So hit tab, we can have a look at the species that we found. So the first one we picked up, which I did say looked like a cane toad, so a Mesoamerican cane toad. Now this species has been included partly because it's useful to have a species that we can talk about as being a non-native invasive species within the area. It tends not to actually get all the way up into base camp and the higher camps, but it is found in the sort of the lower elevation camps around the buffer zone. So we've included it here because it's useful as a teaching tool to discuss with people about invasive species. We've got some information about morphology here. A very large species with distinctly large pair of parotid glands at the base of the neck, and largest toad to be encountered in the park. We've got our Copan brook frog, Dwellermannahyla seralia, which is Icey and Redlist status endangered, and its geographic distribution is throughout the Merindad mountain range in northwestern Honduras, as well as just over the border into Guatemala. So it's not endemic to Honduras, because it's right. The park is right up on the border with Guatemala. So, its distribution, whilst not just found in Honduras, is a sort of a local, regional, endemic, really beautiful frog. We found March's palm pit viper, which is an amphibian specialist, so this species will hang around near streams and feed on the amphibians. So whilst the amphibians are threatened through a number of different pressures, but including chytrid fungus, this species is particularly threatened because it's losing, or has the potential to lose, its prey base. We found the Highland frog, Rana maculata, and we've got the Honduras spike thumb frog, Plectrophylla dasypus, endemic to Cusuco National Park, critically endangered. We found this one on the daytime level as well. And we have found its cousin, the exquisite spike thumb frog, Plectrophylla exquisita. So these two species of Plectrophylla dasypus and Plectrophylla exquisita, are endemic to Cusuco National Park, and just such beautiful frogs to encounter. So two really sort of iconic, important frogs that we encounter reasonably regularly within the park, but are very, very threatened with them sort of having such a limited distribution. And we have found the Copan stream frog, Tikahila hypermicta, which is has a slightly larger range, known from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, but is Icey and Redlist status vulnerable. Okay, so we've got quite a nice number of species there, and we've got, you can see that the number of each of those species that we have found is indicated in the bottom right corner. So we're building our species inventory, as well as our abundance counts that we can create our diversity scores from. So now moving away from the stream briefly, and we'll try and sort of head down the path if I can find it. So that's looking back into camp. So if we head out of camp, hopefully we can kind of move on the trail. You can see that it is much harder to see we're going, but looking on the floor here, we think we can see something. I seem to have just got stuck for a second. There we go. So this looks like we may have found a salamander, which is really nice because they're quite difficult to find within the game. So I'll just get that right in the centre, pick that up, and let's have a look what we got. Just trying to bring up my inventory. It's not coming up right now. I'll just move about. Let's try that again. Here we go. Okay. So we've got Conant's mushroom tongue salamander, Bolita glossa cananti. Another vulnerable species under Icey and Redlist, and our first salamander that we picked up. So fantastic. Its geographic distribution is found within the core zone and the buffer zone of Cusuco, and some of the information is just going off the screen there. But let's carry on with our search. So you can see that things do sort of stand out in the torchlight a little bit. So we've got something else over here. It looks like we've got another salamander. And let's see. So that's another, the Conant's mushroom tongue salamander again. But as would be the case in sort of real life, if things aren't in your direct torchlight, then you're not going to have any chance of seeing things. So it's really kind of reduced vision, and but seem to have a good night for salamanders here at the moment. So I suspect that these might possibly all be the same species. Yes, they are. And as we head further into the forest, we should hopefully start seeing some other species as well. So pick that one up as well. In terms of the placement of the species within the game, the students who developed it they decided where they were going to put things. Oh, I seem to have just got stuck on. It's not moving forward for a second. There we go. And obviously that was related to whether they're most likely to be diurnal, active during the day, or nocturnal, active at night. There you go. We've got a frog there. Try and pick that fella up. Just got to get that right in the centre of the screen for him to pick it up. Okay, there we go. So obviously there's a difference between day and nighttime levels. The area, whether they're kind of up in the sort of off the ground or on the ground, was given to the students that were creating the game. So in theory, their habitat choice, the habitat use, should be linked to what they would be doing in the wild. But I think in reality, we would obviously be very lucky to see quite so many salamanders just crossing our transect path, more likely to be hidden kind of off the side of the track or in the leaf litter, and so you have to work a little bit harder to find them. And again, sort of just struggling to pick this fella up. Try again. Sometimes it can be a little sensitive to where that center point is. There we go. Right, let's move a little bit further into the forest now and see what else we can find. If I'm honest, I have, as often happens when you're doing surveys, often kind of look down at the ground, and I probably haven't spent enough time searching up and looking up, because there are, I'm told, species that have been placed above head height. So when you're playing the game, have a little look around. Got something that's hidden in the bushes here. You can just about see that lizard there. Try and pick him up. There we go. And if you look right in front of me, we've got a snake just tucked onto that trunk there. So we'll pick that up, and then we'll have a look at what we've picked up over the last couple of minutes. So we've now got lots of our Boletoglossa cananti there. We've got 7 of those so far. We've also picked up Crogaster rostralis, our snouted rubber frog, and so there's a number of these leaf litter frogs that are really hard to find when you're moving around in the forest. Just look, as the name suggests, they look like leaves. They're in the leaf litter, so that's quite a nice find. We found Schmidt's emerald lizard, which I think we found in the daytime level as well. And now we've got a new snake that we hadn't found in the daytime level yet, the blunt-headed tree snake, Imitoides cinchoa. So least concerned species, fairly widespread, beautiful species, but you can see in the picture those really large cat's eyes. It's a classic nocturnal species that you're much more likely to find in the nighttime version of the level than the daytime version. Okay, so I'll have just a little bit of a kind of a wander further in. Looks like we might have something under the bush there. Or is that just a pink flower? Maybe it's just a pink flower actually. And I think it gives a very different feel to the game. We're using exactly the same map. Placement of the species is slightly different. The relative abundance of different species is different, but it gives just a different experience for students. And I think one of the nice things to be able to do with this is get people to play it on the daytime level, build their species list, get them to play it on the nighttime level and build their species list there, and compare them. And you can really quickly get into the conversations about the fact that if you only do surveys, it looks like I've got myself turned around and heading back into camp now, so that's fine. But if you compare those daytime and nighttime species lists, then you'll be able to have conversations about the fact that if you survey environments at different times of day, you're going to obviously get different species. And if you want to build those species accumulation curves, how do you know when you have found all of the species within an area? Then yes, you're going to need to do surveys at different times to be able to do that, and being able to sort of combine those lists will be important. It also allows you to discuss differences in behaviour between diurnal and nocturnal species and why they might be choosing to be out at different times. Looks like we've got another possible cane toad on the floor there. Grab that. So yeah, plenty to play with. What we're hoping for is that people will play this game and they will create their species lists, and we will extract not only the species that they found, but also extract the relative abundance of each of those species, so that we can build species accumulation curves, we can build biodiversity indices from that data, and so the levels of I guess sort of teaching content from this depends on how far you want to go with it. It can just be a fun experience for exploring and learning about the species, or we can use it for data generation and more sort of complex, interesting modelling of biodiversity indices, etc. But as I said before, this is a completely free game. Encourage you to grab yourself a copy of it, download it, and just play. See how you use it, and we will hopefully also then put some resources together for teaching that you can use alongside the game. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about how you're using it and future improvements as we continue to develop it. Thanks a lot. Have fun.